My beloved friends, let me speak straight to your heart. Not your mind, your resume. Not your bank account. Not the version of you that smiles on command. I want to speak to you, the real you, the tired you, the bruised and almost broken you. We live in a world that praises success but turns away from struggle. A world where smiles are filtered and sorrow is hidden. But oh, what a lie that is! Because the truth, the divine, thunderous, soul-awakening truth, is that your greatness is not in how high you soar, but in how deeply you rise after the fall. Oh yes, I said cries after the fall. Because you will fall. You will lose. You will be misunderstood. You will give your all and sometimes be left with nothing but the echo of your own breath in the dark. But hear me now. There is a code written into the bones of every human soul. It is etched not with ink but with fire. It is the resilience code. And once you awaken to it, you'll never live small again. Resilience is written into the soul of every human. It is not a gift reserved for the special, the chosen, or the strong. It is part of your original design. Before you learned fear, before you were told what you couldn't do, before you were broken by disappointment, this code was already present within you. It is the silent force that stares when everything seems lost. It's the whisper that says, try again, even when logic says to quit. This deep, internal strength doesn't come from the outside world. It was placed in you before the world ever had a chance to shape you. You were born with the capacity to rise, adapt, and overcome. Look at a child learning to walk. They fall, they stumble, they cry, but they always get back up. Why? Because the soul doesn't need to be convinced to rise. It's instinct. Somewhere along the road, life may have convinced you that failure means finality, or that pain is a sign to stop trying. But that was never the truth. The truth is that within your spirit is an unshakable core, a built-in code that responds to challenge with growth, to pressure with power, to despair with the defiance of hope. This code doesn't remove pain. It doesn't eliminate hardship, but it ensures that pain is never wasted. It transforms adversity into strength and even suffering into wisdom. When the storms of life come, and they will, it's this code that keeps you from being destroyed. You may bend, but you will not break. You may stagger, but you will not stay down. And if you tap into it, if you awaken it, nothing can stop the rising that will follow. Resilience is not about being unaffected. It's about being deeply affected and still choosing to move forward. It's not a shield that blocks emotion. It's a fire that burns through it. It's what allows you to carry the weight of your past without letting it define your future. It's what enables you to stand in the ashes of disappointment and decide to build again. And the most powerful part, you don't need to go out and find it. You just need to remember it. It's already yours. The world often teaches you to look for strength in external things, titles, relationships, status, applause. But those things fade, and when they do, you discover that they were never the true source of your power. The true source is internal. It's spiritual. It's soul deep. It's the reason some people walk through unthinkable loss and still radiate light. It's the reason some rise from heartbreak, failure, or even betrayal, and come back more beautiful, more grounded, more alive. You don't have to understand exactly how it works. You just have to believe that it does. Because every time you get up again, every time you choose healing over bitterness, every time you refuse to give up when no one would blame you for quitting, you are living proof of this code. You are the evidence that resilience is real. You are the evidence that the human soul was made not just to endure, but to overcome. This resilience does not shout. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it looks like stillness. Sometimes it looks like rest. But beneath that stillness is strength, and behind that rest is resolve. It's not a performance. It's a presence. It doesn't require a stage, a spotlight, or an audience. It only requires a decision, a choice to keep becoming, to keep reaching, to keep rising. And once you know it's inside you, you will never again search for strength in places that can't give it. Resilience is written into the soul of every human. It is not a learned behavior, not something handed to a select few by chance or favor. It is an inheritance embedded into your very being. Before you spoke your first words, before you took your first breath, the code was there. Life may try to cover it up, pain may try to bury it, but it is never erased, never absent. It waits patient and powerful beneath the surface, ready to awaken in the moments you think you cannot go on. You were not made to break, you were made to rise again and again through things you thought would destroy you. This code doesn't shout, it doesn't need to. It speaks in whispers when everything around you is falling apart. It shows up in the smallest of movements. The decision to try again, the strength to say no, the courage to begin when you're still afraid. It's in your tears and your trembling, in your silence and your stillness. You don't have to perform strength for the world. True resilience doesn't parade itself. It lives quietly, deeply, fiercely within you, waiting to be chosen. Every person walking this earth carries this same potential. It doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made or how many times you've failed. The code doesn't vanish when life gets hard. In fact, it shines brightest in the dark. The pressure you feel is not to punish you. It's to activate something deeper in you. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Trees root deeper during storms, and so do you. The winds that shake you are the very winds that awaken the strength within you. You were never meant to remain unchanged. You were meant to be refined. Resilience is not about pretending everything is fine. It's not about being untouched by life's hardship. It is about facing reality fully, with clear eyes and an open heart, and saying, I will not let this defeat me. It is the steady, sacred decision to keep breathing through the pain, to keep walking through the fire, to trust that something inside you is greater than what you face. You may not feel strong. You may not see the way forward. But the code does not rely on your feelings. It's deeper than emotion. It is identity. You have overcome more than you remember. You've survived days you never thought you would. You've carried weights that no one saw. And even now, something in you keeps reaching, keeps hoping, keeps moving. That something is the evidence of the code. The world may call it determination, tenacity, grit, but it is more than that. It is sacred. It is divine. It is the signature of the Creator etched into the spirit of every human life. The world may tell you to give up. The voice of fear may scream louder than truth. But resilience whispers back, not yet. There's more. You don't have to force it. You don't have to figure it all out. Resilience doesn't need perfection. It only needs presence. Show up to your life. Show up to the struggle. Show up to your healing. You are not weak because you've been hurt. You are not less because you feel broken. The crack in your heart is not the end of you. It's the place where the light gets in. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to transform. That transformation begins not with something added to you, but something already inside you. Something ancient, something strong, something unshakable. Truth-telling is the first step to transformation. There is no healing without honesty, no breakthrough without acknowledgement, no rising without the courage to face what is real. So many people walk through life weighed down by the burden of silence, pretending everything is fine while quietly unraveling inside. They smile while suffering, succeed while sinking, and serve others while their own hearts grow cold. But truth has a way of setting the soul free. Not the truth you speak to others to maintain an image, but the truth you speak in the quiet of your own heart, when there's no one left to impress and nothing left to protect. Transformation begins when you dare to say what you've been afraid to admit. It begins when you look into the mirror and name the disappointment, the regret, the wound, the fear. Not to wallow in it, not to glorify the pain, but to take back your power from the shadows that have ruled you in secret. You cannot transform what you refuse to face. You cannot be free from what you continue to hide. The truth is not your enemy. It is your invitation. It is the first light breaking into the night of your confusion. It's the sound of chains beginning to crack. Truth-telling is not weakness. It is warfare. It's the weapon of the brave. Because it takes far more courage to admit you're hurting than to pretend you're not. Far more strength to confess you're lost than to keep marching in the wrong direction for the sake of appearances. When you tell the truth, even if your voice shakes, you are reclaiming your authority over your own life. You are no longer giving fear the final word. You are choosing to rise not with a mask, but with your whole, unfiltered, authentic self. We are not transformed by the stories we edit to sound good. We are transformed by the stories we own completely. The raw, unpolished, sacred truth of where we've been, what we've endured, and what still haunts us. The more honest you are with yourself, the more room you make for grace to move in. Grace doesn't heal what you pretend isn't broken. It heals what is brought into the light. And when you tell the truth, not just want as a way of living, you begin to clear out the debris that's been blocking your soul from rising. There is a quiet power that comes from being honest about your journey. When you no longer need to convince others that you've got it all together, you begin to walk in a new kind of strength, a strength that says, I may not be where I want to be, but I'm not hiding anymore. That kind of honesty is magnetic. It liberates others. It creates space for real connection, not the hollow performance of perfection, but the deep bond formed when one soul recognizes the truth in another. Your healing is tied to your willingness to be honest, not just with others, but with yourself. What have you been running from? What have you been numbing, denying, or pushing down for years? You don't have to carry it all alone anymore. When you tell the truth, you begin to release the grip that shame, guilt, and fear have had on you. You open the door to new choices, new strength, and new beginnings. And that is the birthplace of transformation. Truth-telling is the ground zero of change. Until you name the wound, you can't clean it. Until you acknowledge the storm, you can't find shelter. Until you admit what's broken, you can't rebuild. Truth isn't a step backward. It's the first step toward everything your soul is aching for. Refuse to stay down. Movement is victory. Life will knock you down. Sometimes it will happen suddenly with no warning. A betrayal you never saw coming. A loss that takes your breath away. A door you were sure would open slamming shut in your face. Other times it's slower. The quiet erosion of hope. The weariness that builds over time. The feeling that nothing you do seems to matter. In those moments, everything in you might want to stop. To stay down. To stay silent. But there is something sacred in the decision to move. Not sprint. Not leap. Just move. Staying down is easy. Getting back up is holy. Any movement is your declaration that you are not finished yet. It doesn't matter how small it looks. It doesn't matter if no one notices. What matters is that you refuse to let defeat have the final word. The world teaches you that victory is loud, dramatic, and full of glory. But true victory often looks like taking a single step in the dark. It looks like whispering a prayer when you feel numb. It looks like standing when everything in you says to lay back down. There is a deep and quiet power in persistence. Movement is how you defy despair. It's how you break the paralysis of fear. It's how you tell the pain that it may have visited, but it cannot stay. Even in the moments when your heart is heavy and your mind is clouded, the choice to move is a miracle. It's not about ignoring the weight you carry. It's about carrying it differently. Not alone, not in silence, but with a spirit that says, I may be wounded, but I am not done. This movement doesn't need to be visible to others. It may not show up on your social media feed or in your list of accomplishments, but it matters more than you know. Movement is life. Stillness in the soul, when rooted in fear or resignation, can become a slow death. But the tiniest act of forward motion, reaching out to someone, choosing to forgive, taking care of your body, writing down a dream, has the power to break chains. Momentum is born from those tiny acts of courage, and momentum changes everything. Refusing to stay down doesn't mean you won't feel the weight of it all. You will. But you move anyway. You move because your spirit remembers what your mind sometimes forgets. That you are more than the loss, more than the failure, more than the opinion of those who misunderstood you. You are still becoming. And the act of moving, of reaching forward, reminds you that you are not stuck, not trapped, not abandoned. Every time you move forward, no matter how small the step, you reclaim territory that was stolen by fear, grief, or self-doubt. This kind of movement doesn't come from ego or pride. It comes from something much deeper. It comes from knowing that even in your most fragile state, you are capable of choice. You can choose to believe again. You can choose to try again. You can choose to rise slowly, deliberately, in defiance of every reason you have to stay down. And that choice, that movement, is where the power lies. It's not about waiting until you feel strong. Strength often comes after the motion, not before. The movement itself awakens something within you. It breaks the cycle of despair. It invites the divine to meet you in the action. Movement is the soul's way of saying, I'm not finished. Even if the next step is uncertain, even if the outcome is unclear, even if all you can do is breathe through the moment and keep going. That breath, that step, that small decision is a triumph. Pain is not punishment, it is preparation. It's easy to believe, when walking through suffering, that you're being punished for something. That somehow you failed, disappointed, or fell short, and now life is paying you back. But pain is not the voice of judgment. It is the voice of transition. It signals that something is breaking, shifting, opening. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it's disorienting. But pain is not sent to destroy you. It comes to awaken you, to call you deeper, to prepare you for what you could not carry without it. We live in a world that runs from pain, that labels discomfort as failure and suffering as shame. But those who have been through real fire, those who have lost and still chosen to love again, those who have fallen and still dared to rise again, these are the ones who know that pain is sacred ground, not because it feels good, but because it reshapes you. It strips away illusion. It clears out pride. It brings you to your knees, not in defeat, but in surrender. And it's in that surrender that transformation begins. Preparation always comes before pertness, before greatness, before breakthrough. The seed must break before it grows. The ground must be torn before it receives. The heart must be stretched before it can hold more. What you are walking through now is not wasted. The ache in your chest, the questions that won't go away, the emptiness that creeps in when no one's around. These are not signs of failure. They are signs of becoming. You are being refined, not rejected. Strengthened, not silenced. There are things you're being equipped for that can only be forged through pain, compassion that only grows through heartbreak, wisdom that only comes through loss, courage that is born in the dark. It may not feel like preparation. It may feel like you're being undone. But in truth, you are being remade. The version of you that will rise from this season will not be a weaker one. It will be deeper, wiser, stronger, clearer. Not because everything went according to plan, but because you let the pain do its work. Pain clears space. It reveals what you really believe. It shows you who you are when everything else is stripped away. It asks questions that easy seasons never could. Do you still believe in hope? Do you still believe in love? Do you still believe you have purpose, even when nothing makes sense? If you let it, pain will drive you to the truth. Not the truth shaped by fear or culture, but the kind that is eternal. The kind that doesn't change with your circumstances. The kind that holds you when nothing else does. What you learn in pain you carry into power. What you surrender in the fire you reclaim in strength. You begin to see people differently. You begin to see yourself differently. There is a tenderness that grows in those who've suffered. A gentleness, a clarity. You stop being impressed by noise. You stop being swayed by surface-level things. Pain teaches you to look deeper, to value what lasts, to speak with honesty, to live with intention. So many are walking through seasons they don't understand, crying out for answers, for relief, for a way out. But sometimes the gift is not in the escape. It's in the endurance, in the learning, in the trust that something sacred is happening, even if you can't yet see it. You don't have to like the pain. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt, but you can choose to believe that it's not punishment. You can choose to believe that you are being prepared for more depth, more clarity, more purpose, more strength. Your identity is not your failure. The mistakes you've made, the moments you wish you could erase, the seasons of your life where you felt lost or ashamed, these do not define you. You are not your lowest point. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. You are not the silence that followed the betrayal, the fear that paralyzed you, or the words that were spoken over you when you didn't know how to fight back. Those things happened, yes. They shaped you, maybe. But they are not who you are. The world may try to attach labels to you based on your past. Failure, broken, too much, not enough. But those are not your names. You were given a name before the world gave you a wound. A name written in strength, in purpose, in beauty. You carry something eternal, something unshaken by circumstances. No failure has the power to cancel what was placed in you from the beginning. You can lose a battle and still be victorious. You can fall and still be destined to rise. What you've walked through is part of your story, but it's not the whole book. Too many people build their identity around a single chapter, a mistake they made in a moment of weakness, a relationship that ended, a dream that collapsed, and they begin to live as if that one chapter is the totality of who they are. But your identity is far more sacred than a mistake. It's deeper than a detour. You are not meant to carry the weight of your past on your back. You are meant to carry the wisdom from it in your spirit. You are allowed to grow beyond who you used to be. You are allowed to forgive yourself. You are allowed to become something new. Failure is not your final destination. It's a moment, a necessary moment perhaps, but not the measure of your worth. Some of the most powerful people in history failed greatly before they ever rose into their purpose. The difference was not perfection. The difference was the refusal to let failure become identity. They allowed it to teach them, not label them. You will rise not when you have fixed everything, but when you recognize that you were never disqualified. There is no shame that cannot be transformed, no past that cannot be redeemed, no identity that cannot be restored. You may have walked through seasons that changed how you see yourself, but how you see yourself in the mirror of regret is not how heaven sees you. You are still chosen, still called, still capable. The lie that your value is tied to your perfection must die so the truth of your identity can live. Even now, if you are carrying the weight of past decisions, if your inner voice still whispers names like failure, fraud, or unworthy, know this: those are not your names. You do not belong to your past. You belong to the one who sees beyond it. And he calls you whole. He calls you loved. He calls you new. You don't have to earn your way back to value. You've never lost it. The circumstances may have changed. The path may have shifted. But your essence, your true self, remains intact. Some of the most powerful healing you will ever experience begins not with fixing your situation, but with changing the way you speak to yourself. Begin again. Speak kindly truth. You are not the disappointment of yesterday. You are the possibility of today. You are the strength being formed in the fire. You are the wisdom forged in the wilderness. And even now you are still becoming. You are not alone in the fight. Even in the darkest hour, when the night feels endless and the silence deafening, you are not abandoned. It may feel like no one sees, no one hears, no one understands. But there is a presence that walks with you through every valley. You were never meant to carry the weight of this life by yourself. You were never expected to have all the answers or to be the strong one every single day. There is a greater strength that surrounds you, even when you cannot feel it. There is help, even when your hands are too tired to reach for it. There is grace, even when your words have run out. So many carry silent battles, fighting wars in their mind that no one around them even knows exist, smiling by day, crumbling by night, performing strength while their soul cries out for rest. But strength is not proven by silence. True courage is found in connection, in the willingness to reach, to share, to trust that healing does not happen in isolation. You were designed for connection, not just with others, but with something higher, something greater, something eternal that holds you when everything else falls apart. You may feel forgotten, but you are not. You may feel invisible, but you are seen. You may feel like no one understands the depth of your struggle, but there is one who does. And more than that, there are people, right now, in this moment, who would stand with you if they knew. The lie of isolation is that you are the only one going through it, that you are weak for needing help, that asking for support is somehow failure. But that lie loses power the moment you break the silence, the moment you lift your eyes and dare to believe that someone cares. Because someone does. There are people who have walked through fire and now carry buckets of water for those still burning. There are voices that will speak life when yours is too tired to pray. There are hands waiting to lift you, ears ready to listen, hearts that will beat beside yours when the weight feels unbearable. You are not alone in this fight. You are not the only one who has cried behind closed doors. Not the only one who has questioned your worth, your future, your place in this world. You are not strange for struggling. You are human. And being human means you were made to walk this road with others. Let go of the lie that you must do it all alone. Let go of the pride that tells you needing help is weakness. There is nothing weak about reaching for support. There is strength in saying, I'm not okay, but I want to be. There is power in asking someone to walk with you, even if they don't have all the answers. The presence of another, of someone who simply stays, is sometimes all the light we need to make it through the night. And that light multiplies when we let it in. This fight you're in may be long. It may stretch you. But you were never meant to fight alone. You were never meant to be your own savior, your own comfort, your own constant. There is one who stands beside you in the unseen, who weeps when you weep, who strengthens you when you falter, and who will not leave you. Not now, not ever. And through that presence, he sends others, messengers in ordinary clothes, comfort wrapped in conversation, hope hiding in a stranger's smile, in a friend's unexpected text, in a quiet word spoken at just the right time. Sometimes the miracle is not the absence of the storm, but the presence of someone in it with you. Sometimes the breakthrough doesn't come in thunder, but in the whisper of a voice that reminds you, you are not forgotten. You are not fighting alone. You are being carried when your legs can no longer move forward. You are being held when you can no longer lift your own head. You are surrounded, even now. There is power in starting again. Not everyone understands the courage it takes to begin, to rise from the ashes of what was and say, I'm willing to try once more, to stand in the ruins of disappointment, heartbreak, or failure and not just wish for change, but to reach for it. Beginning again is not weakness. It is one of the most courageous things a soul can do. Because when you start again, you risk again, you believe again. You open yourself to possibility knowing full well the cost of loss. And still you move, you reach, still. You trust. Starting again means you refuse to let the past dictate the rest of your life. It means the betrayal didn't break you entirely. The failure didn't define you forever. It means you've looked at the rubble and decided that your story doesn't end in ruins. You may carry scars. You may walk with a limp. But you walk forward. You dare to write a new chapter. The world will often romanticize resilience as something that looks bold and flawless. But real resilience is quieter. It's the whisper that says, maybe today will be different. It's the decision to wake up, get dressed, and take one more step even if your hands are still shaking. Some of the most powerful lives are not those that were uninterrupted by failure, but those who chose to rebuild after everything fell apart. There is sacredness in a second beginning. There is wisdom in the eyes of someone who has lost and still dares to love. There is strength in the hands of someone who was empty but chose to give again. There is unmatched beauty in a heart that was shattered, chose to beat for something more. When you start again, you rewrite what could have been the end into a new beginning. You may be tempted to wait until you feel ready, until the fear is gone, until the timing feels perfect. But most beginnings don't wait for convenience. They come wrapped in hesitation, in doubt, in trembling hope. Starting again often feels uncomfortable, vulnerable, exposed. Because it is. But vulnerability is not danger. It is the birthplace of authenticity, of breakthrough, of the kind of strength that doesn't boast but endures. To start again is to say, I believe there's still more for me. More joy, more peace, more purpose. Even if you can't see the full picture yet, even if the future still feels foggy, you begin anyway. What has ended in your life does not mean you are finished. A closed chapter doesn't mean the book is over. You may have had to say goodbye to people, to places, to dreams. You may have mourned the loss of a version of your life you thought was secure, but that grief does not erase your ability to begin again. It deepens it. It prepares you. You now carry insight, perspective, compassion you never had before. And these are tools you'll use as you build again. This time with intention, with clarity, with heart. You are allowed to begin again at any point. Age is not a limit. Failure is not a sentence. Time past is not a disqualifier. You can turn the page. You can make a new choice. You can pivot in a new direction. The past is a teacher, not a prison. And beginnings are always available to those willing to reach for them. Don't let the fear of falling again keep you from flying. Don't let the memory of what didn't work keep you from discovering what might. The risk is real, but so is the reward. No one can promise that starting again will be easy, but it will be worth it, even if the progress is slow, even if the path is unfamiliar. With every new beginning, something awakens inside of you, a deeper resilience, a softer strength, a fiercer hope. Starting again doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it. It repurposes it. It turns what was once a wound into a wellspring. You begin not because it's easy, but because you know you're meant for more. Because the voice inside you that whispers, "Don't quit," is louder than the one that says, "Stay down." You have walked through fire, through silence, through shadows that tried to swallow your light, but you are still here. And not just surviving, you are becoming. Becoming someone who knows that resilience is not about never breaking, but about rising again with greater wisdom, deeper compassion, and unshakable strength. The resilience code is written not in perfection, but in the choice to begin again, to believe again, to trust that pain can prepare, failure can refine, and starting over can be sacred. You were never meant to carry your story alone, and you were never defined by the worst day you've lived. You are living proof that even in the dark, light grows. Even in the ruins, hope can rise. And even after the breaking, there is still more. For you, through you, and ahead of you.